What's going on, everybody? I am Nick Push. Happy Friday the 13th. I thought today would be as good a time as any to revisit my Friday the 13th rankings. I haven't done this in years, and obviously tastes and, different things change over time. For the most part, mine's pretty similar, but there might be a few changes. But I thought it'd be fun to do my rankings and talk about, a little bit about each individual movie and why I have them ranked where they are ranked. So, with that in mind, do me a favor. Down in the comments, tell me your rankings. Your top three, all 12 of them, just your top five maybe. Anything you want to share. Tell me both where you have your movies ranked and why. Because I think the why is very important. Anyone can just rank them. But, we all have different tastes. We all have different things we're looking for, especially in a Friday movie. So, yeah, love to hear your thoughts. Also, hit that subscribe button if you like talking horror movies in general. I obviously have been talking a lot about Halloween Ends and a little bit about Scream. But this summer I really want to dive into the Friday franchise a little bit. So I'm going to try to do that. Time willing, life happens, but I'm going to do my best because I am a big fan of this franchise. Obviously, you guys know me. I'm a Halloween guy first. But Friday's probably my second favorite franchise. And I'll get into the why about that as I do my rankings. Keep in mind, this is just my personal opinion. There is a movie on my list that everyone else will probably have either as their favorite or for sure in the top three. It does not crack my top three. And it's just personal preference. So, that being said, let's get right into it, starting at number 12. Coming in last place, number 12, is going to be Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. This is a terrible movie, guys. Obviously, we know that only the last, 20 minutes take place in Manhattan. And even that's not Manhattan. It's mostly Vancouver, right? So the joke is, this is Jason Takes a Boat Ride. Right? We've all heard that joke by now. But let's forget about the title for a minute and just focus on the movie. It's stupid. Jason's walking around wet the whole time. He's fucking teleporting by this point. Rennie is, seeing visions for some reason of, young human drowning Jason. It's just fucking weird. You take away the boat ride and the Manhattan shit, and it's just fucking weird. So yeah, it comes in last place for me. Obviously, like most people will say, I love the Julius kill where Jason, knocks his head off essentially. So that's cool. But other than that, last place, bottom of the barrel for me. Alright, coming in at number 11 is going to be Jason X. This movie's fun enough, guys. There's a lot of good kills, some memorable scenes. The main kill that stands out is the liquid nitrogen kill. It's badass. And then some of the shit at the end with, the virtual Crystal Lake is cool. But it's Jason in space, guys. I can have fun with this movie. I can have fun with all these movies. It's Friday the 13th. It's a fucking quintessential slasher franchise out there. So you can have fun with all of them. But Jason X jumps the shark. Jason X jumps the shark just a little too much for me. So that comes in at number 11. Coming in at number 10. This is a tough one to rank, but this is going to be Freddy vs. Jason. The reason I have it at number 10 is it's more of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie to me, especially in tone. Obviously, Jason has, 99% of the kills in this movie. But as far as the tone goes, it feels more like an Elm Street movie. It feels more like Freddy's movie. It's like a Freddy movie with Jason in there. So I have fun with this movie, once again, like I said with the others already. It's more like a comic book movie to me. A love letter to the fans, that had been wanting this for years. They did it, which is pretty cool. But it's just hard to rank as a Friday movie. So it comes in at number 10 for me. Coming in at number 9. This is going to be last on a lot of people's list, and that is going to be Jason Goes to Hell. This is not a good movie, guys. At all. At all. But I'm going to admit, I have some personal nostalgia with this movie. Because I remember being a kid, young teen actually, and we watched this for my birthday party when it came out on VHS. So there is some nostalgia, I'll give it that. But it's got a lot of other things that, make a Friday movie. great kills, lots of gore, boobs, you know, but it's missing Jason, right? Technically, it's Jason possessing other bodies, and it's fucking ridiculous. The concept is ridiculous, you know. But I can enjoy this movie. Like I said, there's nostalgia. They did something different, for better or worse. Creighton Duke's a cool character, but at the end of the day, it just jumped the shark way, way too much. That's why I can't have it ranked any higher. So let's move right along to number 8. Number 8 is going to be Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Jason versus Carrie, right? That should tell you all you need to know. You know, at this point, the franchise was, you know, I don't want to say running on fumes, but, you know, they made, this is the 7th movie in, what, a 8-year span, essentially. So they were just cranking them out. And the MPAA fucking raped this movie. We all know that, right? But at the end of the day, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. This is Kane Hodder's first version of Jason, so that's a big deal. The look of Jason is pretty goddamn cool. You know, his spine showing the mask. You know, you got Weekend at Bernie's Bernie in here as a bad guy. Plays a hell of an asshole. But it's Jason versus Carrie, guys. It's other than that, the fact that, you know, it's Jason versus Carrie, it's pretty, everything else about this movie is not really memorable. So it comes in at number 7. Or sorry, number 8. Part 7 is number 8. Coming in at number 7 now is going to be Part 5. So obviously this is the one with the imposter Jason, with Roy Burns, right? So a lot of people have it towards the end. A lot of people have it bottom of the barrel. But if you think about it, it has a lot of great Friday qualities, you know. The kills, even though they cut away a lot at the end, the kills are great, okay? You just gotta almost pretend that it's Jason in this movie, which I know is hard to do. But you got a lot of memorable moments with, you know, Reggie the Reckless. You got, I can't remember his name, Demon, Enchilada Guy. You know, it's just a fun movie, you know. It's 1985 at this point. It's the 5th movie in the franchise. They just killed Jason. You know, I'm not a fan of Tommy Jarvis in this movie. He's essentially a mute, for the most part. You know, a mute with anger and weird issues. Keeps having hallucinations of Jason. But it went back to kind of the whodunit route a little bit, right? And then you find out it's Roy Burns and it's a lame whodunit, just like the original, kind of. But anyway, it's a fun enough Friday movie, so it comes in at number 7 for me. Coming in at number 6 is going to be the remake from 2009. I think this movie gets way too much hate. Now, it's obviously not in my top 5, but there is a lot to like about this movie, starting with Derek Mears. He is a badass Jason. Okay? But other than that, the story, you know, he kidnaps her. You know, I didn't like the look of him without the mask on. I didn't like the look of him, you know, wearing kind of an overcoatish. But Derek Mears is a badass Jason. He's, you know, a hunter, survivalist almost. You know, he's fantastically brutal. He's smart. It is pretty damn cool, what he does in the character. If I was grading the first 20 minutes of this movie, this might be number 1. That's how fucking badass the first 20 minutes are. It is that. The first 20 minutes of this movie are that fucking good before the title comes. You know, back when he's, you know, got the sack on his head. Like, so many good kills in this movie. My God. Especially at the beginning. Mostly at the beginning, actually. But yeah, first 20 minutes are awesome. But the rest of the movie, it kind of goes on a slow downward slope. So I couldn't have it any higher than 6, but like I said, it gets way too much hate. So, top 5, people. Bring on the controversy, because this is a lot of people's number 1. If not number 1, definitely 2 or 3. And for me, it's going to be Part 6, Jason Lives. Let me just say this. It's in my top 5, right? So I like the movie, right? But let me just say this. I understand the love of this movie. I understand it. It was a little tongue-in-cheek, a little meta, winking and nodding at the audience. It is the most fun Friday the 13th movie. This is when they realized that people came to see Jason and cheer him on, you know, and they fucking went for it, and it worked beautifully. For me, though, I enjoy the darker tone of the first few movies. That is just personal preference. I enjoy this movie, but I would rather watch the darker tone of the first few, which we'll get into. So no hate till Friday the 13th Part 6. It just didn't crack my top 4. But it's at number 5, and I like it. So let's jump number 4. Number 4 is interesting because for me, this is the original from 1980. This is such an interesting franchise because in most other franchises, the original is always hailed as number 1, right? And nothing can go better than that. But not Friday. Friday, I've seen the original all the way from people's number 1 all the way towards the end. And some of that's just because Jason isn't in there, or at least the Jason we know isn't in there, right? But I enjoy this movie. It is really creepy. The atmosphere of this movie, in the dark woods in the Northeast, it's not really lit very well. It's creepy. The daytime scene where Kevin Bacon's character, I think it's Jack, and Marcy are sitting outside, and she's telling the story of how she dreams that it's raining blood, and then I can't remember the prankster's name. Ned, walks into the cabin, and you just see his body up on top of the bunk as Jack and Marcy are making love, and it's thundering outside, but it's kind of at dusk. It's fucking creepy. There's so many just creepy moments in this movie. If you're not a huge fan of this movie because you're a Jason guy, I implore you to give it another chance. Go back and watch it and just see how creepy it really fucking is. It's not as fun as any of the other movies in this franchise, but it is creepy, and that is why I enjoy it. So, and obviously you got to talk about Tom Savini. Tom Savini, is the difference between this movie just being another slasher movie and this movie turning into a franchise, in my opinion. And then obviously you got the amazing jump scare at the end with Jason popping out of the lake. So the OG is at number 4. All right, top 3, people. Number 3 for me is going to be Part 3, Part 3D. Once again, I am possibly a little blinded by nostalgia here. This is the first Friday movie I ever saw. Okay? I understand the acting in this movie might be the worst in the franchise. If not, it's close. And that's saying something for this franchise. I get all the flaws. But I love fucking Richard Brooker as Jason. He is my favorite Jason, by far. By far. Obviously this is where he gets the hockey mask. Shelley, probably the most famous prankster in the franchise, gives him the mask. But once you get to the second act, or I guess the third act of this movie when Jason gets the hockey mask, because it lulls in the middle. I'm not going to lie. It lulls in the middle. Once you get to that third act, holy fuck is this movie awesome. When he first comes out with the hockey mask, and Vera's like, hey, found your wallet. Who are you? And, he points a harpoon gun, shoots her right in the fucking eye. And then he kind of tosses the harpoon gun down and turns around and stares at the house where Andy and his pregnant girlfriend are. I can't remember her name. But it's like Jason's like having fun killing. He just got kind of like a pep in his step. And that's just like, holy shit. The Andy kill on the handstand, where he's doing the handstand and Jason takes a machete and cuts him in half. My favorite kill in the franchise. There's a lot of good ones in this franchise. But there's just so many moments. The final chase between him and Chris is my favorite final chase in the franchise. Maybe my favorite final chase of all time. Go watch that again if you haven't seen this movie in a while. Watch the final chase. It is badass. This just goes from the house to outside the house to the car to the barn. The barn is almost like a character in itself in this movie. So I love Friday the 13th Part 3. Like I said, I can acknowledge the flaws in it, but for me, I'm a big fan of it. So it's at number 3. All right, top 2. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Part 2. This is an interesting movie, right? Because it's essentially almost a carbon copy of Part 1. But I think it does things a little bit better. Now, like all the movies in this franchise, it has its flaws. It was pointless to recap Part 1 essentially at the beginning for 10 minutes, especially on an 88-minute runtime or whatever the hell this movie is. It was pointless to do that. It was dumb. But once this movie gets going, it gets going. After Jason kills Alice with the ice pick, this movie just flies by. The pacing is wonderful. So there's just so many great moments in this movie. You know, Mark the wheelchair kill is easily in my top three kills of all time. Pardon me, my dog is going nuts right now. But Mark the wheelchair kill is awesome. So there's just so many moments in this movie. Like I said, in part one, you have all these the creepiness of how dark it is and all kinds of shit. But this movie does that, but it does it almost a little bit better. You got Jason, who you don't see till the end. Ginny is my favorite final girl in the franchise. Fucking what's her name? The hell's the actress's name? Amy Steele. Sorry. Amy Steele is great as her. I love how she uses this child psychology to get Jason. That's what kind of vaults this into the top two, is her using the child psychology, and just her, you know, her performance overall really, really makes this movie stand out from some of the others. So Friday the 13th Part 2 is at number 2. But number 1 can only be one movie for me, and that is going to be Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter. The last Friday the 13th movie we got, judging by the title, right? Yeah, right. But anyway, Part 4, this is the quintessential slasher movie for me. The characters, every character in this movie is memorable, and most of them are likable. Ted White, I said Richard Brooker is my favorite Jason. Ted White's number 2, and then there's a drop off for me. But Ted White is viciously brutal. This movie is just so dark. Joseph Zito dominated the way he directed this movie. It's fan-fucking-tastic. You got Crispin Glover's dance. Tommy Jarvis, you know, at the end of this movie, you know, the way Corey Feldman shaves his head. It just seems more epic than any other Friday the 13th movie. Every kill in this movie is brutal as all fuck. And that's why we watch these movies, right? This is Jason at his most brutal. It's darkly lit, just like the original, but you got Jason who's fucking pissed off, and he just seems evil in this movie. And there's just so many great shots of Jason in this movie, and the camp not camp really, the lake area in this movie. So Part 4, the final chapter, is my favorite Friday the 13th movie by far. So like I said, tell me in the comments what your favorite Friday the 13th movie is, and happy Friday the 13th, everyone.